히트 시즌2.
What's up, guys? Not sure if we're live. I can't really hear myself, but Wolf, can you confirm?
I can't hear. I turned myself up.
Okay, there we go.
Really
Okay,
yeah. Okay,
we're
in here.
Okay, there we go. Guys, we got a sick day of Pro League today. Tons of games. We got 3 matchups here. And we're going to start off with KT versus Afreeca Freaks. And this has a lot on the line for the Freaks.
And for MVP as well, if the Freaks are defeated, MVP Chikamaru will retain their 4th place spot and will advance the playoffs realistically off the back of Gumiho alone. And if you think about it, with Gumiho's recent success and in the all-kill format, he may be able to carry his team into a big victory in playoffs if he can keep the trend going. For KT Rolster, a win here is not necessarily going to secure them the 1st place spot. They need to win with a high enough indicator that also if Jin Air wins later, they will still be above them and retain that 1st place spot. The 1st place spot, of course, really only important going to the playoffs. You just get seeded straight away into the finals.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. You don't want to have to play that preliminary match, right? The silver challenger match or the silver playoff match, whatever we call it over here at Pro League. Yeah. So you just get as you said, a direct seed right into the finals. Very comfortable. You get to watch the games. The teams are not going to be holding back in the playoffs, so they're going to be showing everything right in that semifinal match. So you get a lot of good information going into the finals as well. So it is definitely a big deal.
Yep, this match is by far the most important, I'd say, out of the 3, just because it matters for both teams so heavily going into this. You know, both teams, of course, you know, eligible. KT has already secured their spot, but they're looking to get the highest indicator possible. And for the Afreeca Freaks, they want to secure their spot here. Any win for them puts them in and knocks MVP out. Doesn't matter what the score is, because MVP has 1 penalty point on their score. And we'll actually take a closer look at that. Look at this. If Afreeca Freaks won by 1, they'd be tied at -3 apiece at 3 and 3. But because of the penalty point, no matter what, if the Afreeca Freaks win in any case, they will pass MVP Chikamaru and get into the top 4.
Well, if the Freaks won, they would be at -1. So even if MVP was at -3,
I don't know why
it would be in.
I was thinking wrong. I was like thinking if they win, they'll be down. If they won the ace match, if they won the ace match, they go -3. No, Wolf, you're way off. Okay. But
so it makes things very simple. You know, sometimes we have really complicated playoff scenarios. This time it's really simple. The Freaks need to win if they want to make it to the playoffs. MVP, they needed the Freaks to lose in order to get into the playoffs. And for CJ, for them, they're already in, but their match today will decide if they're in 3rd or 4th place.
That's right. No matter what the score for the rest of the players, Hero will retain 1st spot in the winner's ranking. He secured that yesterday. Even if Maru wins today and plays in an ace match and wins it, he'll still be tied in 1st. So there's no tiebreaker. So he's already secured 1st. Now this is the matchup, okay? The Freaks, I'd say they have a decent shot. A lot of people are looking at it saying it's going to be super KT favored. They're bringing the trio, TY, Stats, and Zest. They bring them every time. Lucira's the 4th instead of Leenock this time. But both Alive, you know, and Super, I think, have really good chances in the 3rd and 4th matchups.
Yeah, they definitely do. That's an interesting match. I was talking to you about that one, the Zest versus Super one. Zest's PvP is not pristine, right? He's shown a lot of chinks in the armor, and Super's been doing better and better. And he got out of that crazy group that did have Zest in it. And I believe he actually did defeat Zest at least once in that match, in the challenger matches for SSL.
I believe you're correct. Zest was nearly able to go out with an undefeated record, but I think Super did defeat him. Unlike TY, who was able to get out undefeated in that group, and is 3 and 4 versus Zerg. He's played 7 TVZs, and now we're going into Dust Towers, so a huge map here, but this time without a Protoss.
TY, man, he's been around for so long, right? We talk about how he used to be baby. He has 141 wins in Pro League. Imagine how many wins that is. The most winning players in Pro League last season, when we had like the full schedule, it was about 20 wins, right? He has 141. Yeah. That's insanity.
That's basically 7 Pro Leagues worth of being the top player, if you want to put it into those terms. Let's break down the predictions here. This is going to be another day of, you know, close, or not very close predictions. 7-0 on this one.
This one, pretty obvious for me. Curious, he took the win. I think it was a ZVZ New Gettysburg in the ace match for Afreeca, and gave them a good shot of getting into the playoffs. But here against TY, one of the best Terrans in the world, I think he's going to have a pretty rough spot here. By the way, all three of us, me, you, and GTR, tied at 64. Today is the last day of predictions, and we'll decide who is going to be the winner of round 3. Guys, we're going to jump into game number 1 on Dust Towers, TY versus Curious. Up here in the top right, in the red, it is TY.
And down here on the bottom right, in purple for the Freaks, it is Curious. And, I mean, there's so much on the line here. We talked about how, you know, there's the winner's ranking #1 is already set with Hero. This is the last day for all of these teams playing to put their players get official points on the rankings. So you talk about how many wins TY has. The all-kill format and Grand Postseason don't count. The only time you actually get points on your official record are in these regular matches in round robin. So the last day for these players to get points on the record this year.
Yeah, and if you remember, the Kespa Cup last year actually took, I think it was like the top 4 most winning players. So I don't know if there's going to be a Kespa Cup this year. I will see, right? But I'm sure they would use the same format, or at least a seeding situation there to bring players in. So
yeah, Kespa did announce there would be a Kespa Cup, and then it was delayed, and we haven't heard any information since then. So I would gather that there will probably be a Kespa Cup. We just don't know when. It might be after BlizzCon even. Who knows? But I'm excited.
You know, a little just a bridge to bridge that gap in between. You know, generally in December we don't have too much StarCraft. This year I think we have IM Goyang is happening actually in Korea, so that's going to be a lot of fun too.
That definitely will be. I've actually never been to Goyang, so I'm looking forward to going down there and checking that out.
Me neither.
In this matchup, by the way, it's gone through a lot of changes. The most recent change to the game itself, within the game, the patch change, is the Queen's anti-air range, which will severely affect the Liberator harass potential for TY. Not only that, but also the Spore Crawler burrow time is going to be one of the first matches that we've actually seen on the new patch where this will come into play big time. So let's see if TY even makes that part of his strategy. They've had a few days to prepare. The patch has been out for like about a week now. So they've had some time to kind of get ready and get set up to deal with this new meta. That will likely be created by the patch. The patch doesn't make the meta, the players make the meta, but the patch may change the meta. We'll see.
So, TY coming up here, very standard, especially on a map like this. You just go Reaper Expand, you take that backdoor natural. Very easy, and he's actually going for a super early 3rd CC too. Playing it very greedy, trying to get ahead in that economic game to start things off. And he actually did scout the back door of Curious's base as well and saw that there was no 3rd base. So getting a nice bit of information so far as TY.
And there's the starport coming up very late as he did go for that 3rd CC. He also planned on making it earlier, but decided to commit to his reactor first instead, which took 50 of his gas away, so he had to wait a little bit longer. And this is going to be a really good game. This is the map where games usually go the longest out of all the maps because the rush distance is so far. The bases are not that difficult to take. They kind of just lead into themselves. The 4th base that you can take on this map is like a normal 3rd on a good map where it's easy to take your 3rd, but it's a 4th base in this case because you have that backdoor expansion. And I'm surprised we don't see Overlord's speed coming out from Curious because he's going to be playing this very blind without it.
Yeah, and if you take a look at the gas here for Curious, he's been building it up from the get-go. He did not build that he did not make the Overlord speed, as you were saying, and he's been saving so much gas. And here we go. We have a ton of Lings on the way right as he kills the Reaper and the Baneling nest.
This could be just a Baneling all-in, Valdez. I think this is very likely to be the case. And he'll just simply use the rest of his remaining larva to crank out Banelings. This will probably just be without drop Overlords as well. It's just going to be Speedlings for the follow-up, Banelings to knock down the wall and try to get the Lings inside, camp the production, and end the game. And with the greedy build that TY has chosen, this may just be enough to end the game. He is getting one siege tank, as is his style.
And Curious saw this too with this Overlord. He's actually, he was saving up gas for a while, but I think once he saw that, he's like, no, I don't need the speed. I have all the information I have, and I'm just going to save up this gas, and I'm going to go for this all-in. It's a really, really nice read by Curious. We'll see if he can defend this drop, though, at the same time.
He's, okay,
whoa.
He's making 18 already. Now, TY should know something's up because his base is not droned at all. And that's not just because he evacuated. There should still be drones there. If he thinks this is just a preemptive evacuation, he's wrong.
He's making 2 engineering bays, too.
And look, there's so many queens here, and they have better range. That's not just for dealing with liberators, that's for drops as well. Here's the raise. He needs to siege. One is already sieged, the second one a bit late. Already Zerglings on top of the siege tanks. Medevac being used here to reposition. He needs to get as many shots off as possible.
Oh, and he can't micro that second tank. The first one is doing a lot of damage here. But the Marines are gotten on top of it, and they all go down, and the second tank goes down too. He doesn't micro that.
He doesn't have very many units left. He's fighting with only SCVs here. They are being healed. The Viking needs to land. Down it goes. And I think this is just too much. He doesn't have enough units. He's making one Marine at a time. Another siege tank comes out here.
This is a huge play by Curious. If he can take this win, this opens this up wide open in this matchup, and Afreeca needs this win to make it into the playoffs.
I think this should just be game. He simply doesn't have enough units to survive this. He has triple CC, so if he can live, he will have a great economy. He's going to make a wall here, but the Banelings are not going to care about that wall. Great micro here from TY. Picks up the SCVs into the medevac, drops them individually to minimize damage, but the tank is down, and he just can't get a wall of them.
That's it, GG! Curious, he takes game number 1 against TY. A huge upset here, and they give Afreeca the 1-0 lead now.
This was a great build, and Curious has just incredible back-to-back wins right now with all-ins, with timings against players most would argue are better than him. His win of the ace match on New Gettysburg comes to mind. He's preparing great strategies. He gets the read on the third base. He commits hard to the Banelings. And TY, when he saw the third base was empty, he didn't read it correctly. I'm not saying that he should have absolutely just assumed that that was going to be, you know, an all-in, but assuming incorrectly that the drones had just been preemptively evacuated was, I think, what he was thinking there. So he wasn't adequately prepared. Even though he had 2 siege tanks, they were unsieged. And if he had just gotten a little bit more information, I mean, he held the beginning wave way better than I thought he would. And after that, though, it just was too much. He didn't have enough production. He couldn't get a wall up. If you get a wall up, that's another story.
Yeah, now we're going to jump into a PvP, Stats versus Patience. And keep in mind, Patience is doing very, very well nowadays, and Stats just got knocked out of the GSL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a reason he had that downwards arrow. When I first saw it, I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But then I remembered GSL, and the fact that now we're basing our arrows off their, you know, their performance all over Korea, not just Pro League.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, in the GSL, he beat Cure with Cure's timing attack. He played really well. That was just a harder group than everyone wants to admit. Nobody gives Cure credit. 2 top 4s in the GSL. I mean, nobody wants to give him credit, but I'm just...
He's an amazing player. Like,
I think Stats didn't play poorly in the GSL. His results, like, at the end of the day, when you look at, like, oh, he didn't get out of the group? What? But, I mean, he played well, and I still think he's a big favorite here.